Hello guys, it's me, Mary, and welcome to my channel Spill the Tea, where we talk about controversial social issues, watching for the unusual side of it.
Exposed. You're exposed. You're exposed. You are exposed.
So today we are going to discuss a subject you have asked me to talk about a lot lately, which is, should we legalize prostitution? So as usual, I'm going to drop a few facts and then we'll ask random people's opinion. According to the Oxford Dictionary, prostitution is the practice or occupation of engaging in sexual activity in exchange for payment. You have to know that 40 to 42% in the world are prostitutes. 80% of them are aged between 13 and 25 years old. 90% of the prostitutes are dependent from a pimp, and 90% of them are from a lower social class. You have to take into account that prostitution is not only an adult problem, it also concerns minors and children. For example, in India, 1.2 million minors are suspected of being prostitutes, and in Indonesia, 30% of the prostitutes are minors. But if we have to focus on France, I can tell you that there are 30,000 persons in France that are prostitutes, and that 51% of them have suffered from physical violence while exercising their job. 64% of them have been subjected to insults, humiliation and stigmatization, and please remember that number, 38% of them have been raped while exercising their job. And you have also to remember that normally it's 6.8% of the whole population that is victim of rape. And finally, in the last 12 months, 25% of the prostitutes have experienced suicidal thoughts.
Exposed. You're exposed.
What does the number say? It shows that prostitution is not something that you do willingly. The fact that 80% of them are aged between 13 and 25 years old shows that it's an industry that targets mostly people that are unsteady financially, so that suffer from debt or poverty, do not have a lot of options, and suffer from unemployment. It may be the oldest job in the world, but it's also the hardest one. It drains you physically as well as mentally, and mainly violence is omnipresent. So let's go outside and see what people think. Okay, so I found a kind stranger who accepted to answer my question. So Yana, what do you think about prostitution and should it be legalized?
I think that's a tough topic, but I know that legalizing prostitution would mean that we're empowering women and showing that women are free to do whatever they want and everything, and I totally agree with that. But we all know that usually when people think about prostitution, they think about female prostitutes. People will automatically think from a young age that all women can be bought and they all have a price.
I think the first thing that's coming to my mind when regarding this question is about diseases and STDs and all this kind of things, because I think if prostitution is legalized, then there will be more clients and more sex workers, and so this will favor the transmission of those kind of disease, and that's not a good thing, I think. Plus, the fact that if you're a sex worker and that you decide to get tested get tested, then you will have to wait in order to get your results, because this is not something that happens in a snap, and so it will be very difficult to make a living out of it, because you won't be able to work for 1 or 2 weeks, or you could decide to work but at the sake of your own health. So I'm not sure this is a really good thing.
I think that also many people think that if we actually legalize prostitution, prostitutes will all pay taxes, so the state will receive more money. But there have been examples where it wasn't actually true. I think it was the Dutch government, if I'm not mistaken, where they there was a time they legalized brothels and prostitutes, but obviously they thought that all prostitutes would pay taxes, but only a really small portion paid it, because most of the prostitutes were ashamed of admitting that they were sex workers. So I think that argument doesn't really work.
The risk is also, if prostitution is legalized, that pimp will not want to pay taxes or give some part of their earnings to the state or pay social charges for the workers, and so it could lead them to decide that adult sex workers are not profitable anymore, and so they could decide to use another categories of persons that are not necessarily protected by the state, like I don't know, like minors, teenagers, for example.
I think that a lot of people don't really realize what prostitution actually is. They all have that image with only the good sides of it, like in the movie Pretty Woman, for example. And actually, I think that movie glamorizes a lot prostitution when it shouldn't be. Like, they only show the good sides of it, and they don't show the bad part, like the dangerous part. For example, all the things related to pimps, drugs, or violence, or other things like that. So I think that yes, there are a lot of people who probably do it willingly, but most of sex workers do it because they're forced to it, and not necessarily because of a certain person, but for example, because of their social situation or because of financial problems.
So most of people would think that it would be easier once the prostitution is legalized for sex workers to denounce violences or claims that would cross the line between rape and the actual service. But I mean, we live in a world where whenever a girl is raped, the first question she's asked is, how were you dressed? So I'm pretty sure the police would never consider those requests seriously. Because I mean, if you can be taken seriously as a civil, then if you're making a living out of it, you would probably never be taken as seriously as it actually should be taken.
So, like I said, there are already a lot of sex workers who do it because they feel like they're forced to do it, because it's like their last resort, I guess. So I think that if we legalize it, it's going to be even worse. There will be a lot of people, and especially most of the time it's students, a lot of students will feel like they're obligated to do it, and it will be easier for them to actually do it.
So as usual, we're going to end the video with the question of the day, and today's question is, can prostitution be considered as modern day slavery? Comment your thoughts down below. You can also give me other ideas of debate. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys the next time. Bye!